Hello and welcome to Wednesday's programme.
Your headlines tonight. Food banks struggling to meet demand. We're in Exeter and Plymouth where donations have more than halved.
We will be in a situation where we will have to really prioritise what we give and maybe limit the amount that we can give to households because there may not be enough to go round.
Also tonight, claims of unnecessary suffering. An ITV investigation reveals the conditions in some game bird breeding farms.
Plus, planning for the future. We speak to the team releasing nearly 25,000 oysters into the River Fowl.
And digging deep in Dorset, how Weymouth is giving up some of its ancient secrets. A very good evening. Welcome to the programme. Staff who run food banks across Devon say that they've seen donations half in the past 2 years.
The Trussell charity, which oversees dozens of distribution and collection points in the region, is now urging the government to do more to try to end food poverty. Richard Lawrence has this report.
A typical morning delivery at the Exeter Food Bank from the donation bins stationed at 18 supermarkets in the city. And while it may seem a lot, the quantity of goods has fallen by more than half in the past 2 years. And staff and volunteers are worried about the ongoing cost of living crisis affecting everyone.
I think the next year is going to bring some real challenges, I think, as we get towards the winter with the energy costs, household costs. I think people are going to find it much harder. We will be in a situation where we will have to really prioritise what we give and maybe limit the amount that we can give to households because there may not be enough to go round by the end of the year if this current situation continues. I think people are still incredibly generous, but I think your average household is just finding it so much more expensive to buy their own food, and we totally understand that.
The Exeter Food Bank caters for about 40 people a day, and the Plymouth Food Bank serves a larger population and helps around 300 people a week. Donations too have fallen by more than 60%.
Again, cost of living, the cost of food prices have increased, and we've actually seen our biggest net drop in donations through supermarket collection points. Completely understand and sympathise. We're all in a situation where we're obviously having to deal with an increase in food prices, and of course that has a direct result on our donations coming into Plymouth Food Bank.
At the same time, demand for services is growing. Other organisations such as West Bank, a wellbeing and health charity based in Exminster, has 3 community larders, including this all-weather Help Yourself facility in the centre of Exminster.
We've noticed a really big change, especially in the last 12 months or so. People who previously were able to actually donate towards the food larder are now needing it themselves as people are really struggling with the cost of living.
Trussell, which oversees the Plymouth and Exeter food banks and dozens of distribution points in the West Country, has praised the government for introducing some policies to reduce food poverty for families. It feels much more needs to be done. Ultimately, all the charities would love there to be no need for their services. Many thought they'd be a temporary measure, but they've become a crucial part of our communities. Richard Lawrence, ITV News.
Well, I'm happy to say we're joined by Sumi Rabindra Kumar from the Trussell charity. Sumi, thank you so much for joining us. As Richard said there, all the charities are wanting the money and there's not much of it. What's the answer, do you think, for Trussell?
I think we know that food banks are doing all they can to provide for people facing severe hardship through compassion, practical support, emergency food. But that support is only possible with the generosity of people and organisations who can donate their time, their money and food as well in those drop-off points. We know that times are difficult, but we do know that lots of people are very willing to play their part, and whenever that's possible, we do encourage people to do so. We know that the climate is getting increasingly difficult, and when you look at things like war in the Middle East, we can see that further down the track it's fairly certain that prices will rise again. So this isn't going to get any easier, and we need all the help that we can get.
Say in an area like the Southwest, if this current trend continues with fewer donations and food poverty not getting markedly better, what's the worst case scenario?
I mean, food banks have weathered many storms in recent years. If you look at the pandemic, the last cost of living crisis, we saw need rocket. At the same time, we saw the public step up, as well as other organisations, to help and make sure that we could continue to serve people in our communities in the best way we know how. What we do know is that there's also action that the government can do. They have taken some welcome steps forward, as your report just said. We need that to continue through this coming months and years. We can't rest on our laurels. Financial security is at the foundation of what drives food bank need, and the more we can do to get that financial security for more people across the UK, including the South West, the less need there will be for food banks in the first place.
And of course, Sumi, we report all the time on the growing number of people who need you. And although you are calling out for people to help, the message is clear that you are still there, aren't you? The Trussell Trust, the food banks aren't going anywhere.
Absolutely. In 2025, across the South West, food banks in the Trussell community provided some 230,000 parcels. That's a parcel every 2.5 seconds. We have been there for many years. We will continue to do all we can to provide people who need support now. Food banks do excellent work looking at their local community, working with counsellors, local services, to look at how we can get the right support at the right time so people don't need to come back to a food bank, or ideally don't need to turn to a food bank in the first place. So they're doing that practical, roll your sleeves up, getting things done to help people now and in the future. We just need support to help that continue. Yeah,
and we can all help more, can't we, if we can. Thank you so much. Sumi Rabindra Kumar, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Now, animal rights, this is a difficult story. The campaigners are calling for stricter regulations of game bird feeding farms, claiming some cause unnecessary suffering and even serious environmental hazards.
Well, ITV News has obtained undercover footage of what's being described as the largest ever investigation into the bird shooting industry. Nick Smith has this report. I must warn you that you may find some footage distressing.
Game bird shooting divides opinion in a battle between tradition versus animal welfare. Those representing the shooting industry claim it generates up to £3 billion a year, with more than 150 organised shoots across the South West. But it's the breeding process that's now coming under fire. Each year, up to 60 million pheasants and partridges are released into the English countryside. But they're not born in the wild. They're actually bred and reared on intensive farms. They're then sold off during the summer months to estates, ready for the winter shooting season. But many animal welfare groups have grave concerns about some of their practices.
I'm sort of stuck under the feeders and they just don't eat. Stuck, starved.
This is footage from an undercover worker filmed last year at one of 7 farms investigated by campaign group Protect the Wild, who claim it shows evidence of breaches of animal welfare laws and codes of conduct. The worker chose to speak to me while hiding his identity. Do you think the public are completely unaware about what goes on at these farms and some of the things which you had to witness?
I'd say they are. I saw shocking things. You know, a bird had a damaged leg, and when this was brought to the attention of one of the workers, he literally just said, well, you know, as long as she can still lay an egg, don't worry about it.
Lays eggs, it'll lay eggs, it's fine. Yeah. Sounds cool, it might have a damaged leg, but if it can still lay an egg.
It's literally a case of breeding as many birds as possible to survive for as long as possible, to be sold and then shot.
To prevent fighting, birds are seen placed alone in small cages with little room to move, one of a number of concerns observed by Protect the Wild.
We have conducted what we believe to be the largest undercover investigation into the British bird shooting industry. You've got probably hundreds, if not thousands, of these cages in fields across England where these birds are not able to show any, natural behaviours. There isn't proper legislation, there isn't proper regulation, there isn't proper oversight of what they're doing or how they're doing it, and that is a serious, serious problem.
A dead hen was also found with potential septum damage from fitting a beak shroud, which could breach welfare guidelines due to the pain of the procedure.
Been putting this foam out and all sorts of poisoning methods that you're not supposed to use in a desperate effort to try and kill what's here because they're eating the eggs.
This may imply improper use of rodent poison, which is highly regulated due to environmental risks. Poison pellets were also found uncovered beneath cages, potentially risking consumption by wild birds. Aisha Smart is a barrister who specialises in animal welfare law. She has reviewed the footage for Protect the Wild.
These game bird farms, they are less frequently visited in comparison to, say, for example, your factory farms where you've got pigs and cows and chickens. So there's no compulsory requirement to go in and inspect them. In terms of the environmental conditions that these animals are put in, they're put in cramped, barren cages. It's effectively like being in solitary confinement in a prison. They're resorting to aggression with other birds because they're so hemmed in. When you compare it to the legislation, there's no underlying justification for that.
The Game Farmers Association declined our offer for interview, but in a statement told us the GFA promotes high welfare standards and best practice across the game farming sector, and the overwhelming majority of game farms operate to these high standards. Where issues arise, we work with members to address them and improve practice. However, the GFA does not have legal powers of enforcement. We reached out to the farm filmed by the undercover worker with multiple requests to address his allegations, but had no response. Those running game bird shoots often say conservation and sustainability are at the heart of what they stand for. But more questions are being asked about the industrial scale of how their targets are bred and the pressures that puts on the wider environment too. Nick Smith, ITV News.
We also put the allegations in Nick's report to DEFRA and the Animal and Plant Health Agency. A DEFRA spokesperson told us we want to see the highest possible animal welfare and environmental standards across the game bird industry. In March, we announced that we would review the evidence and issues associated with it.
And the Animal and Plant Health Agency told us, we take breaches of animal welfare legislation very seriously and investigate every allegation reported to us. We will always take appropriate action where non-compliances with regulations are found. To other news now, and an inquest has been opened into the death of an Exeter pensioner who was found dead at home last month. The coroner said that 87-year-old Shirley Billam's cause of death was due to smothering. A 92-year-old man's been charged with murder and his plea hearing is set to be heard at the end of the month.
One of Torquay's most popular tourist attractions, the Big Wheel, isn't returning this summer. Torbay Council say the operators of the seafront attraction, the Mellors Group, have taken the decision not to return for the 2026 season. The council says it worked closely with the company, adding it understands many people will be disappointed. The Mellors Group have been approached for comment. Now, tomorrow is polling day for two local councils in our region, Exeter and Plymouth. Residents will be casting their vote to decide who represents them when it comes to local issues like parking, bin collections and planning.
Well, our political correspondent Alicia Fitzgerald explains which council seats are up for grabs.
This week, voters will head to the polls for local elections. Here in this part of the West Country, there are only two council elections, Exeter City and Plymouth City. Both only have around a third of their seats up for grabs. Let's start in Plymouth, who have 19 up out of 57. Labour currently runs the council and has a clear majority. Because of the small number of seats up, it would be impossible for them to lose control. But power has repeatedly changed hands between Labour and the Conservatives over the years, and Kemi Badenoch will want to cut into their lead. Any success in doing so will give her hope that her party is rebuilding. Independents already hold a number of seats, and other parties like Reform will want to build on their presence here, which means that votes could be split in several directions. In Exeter, 13 out of 39 seats are up for election. Labour firmly control the council here and have done for years. But support for the Greens is growing, making them the party to watch out for. Any wins here may serve as an indicator for the next general election. The main thing to look out for overall will be how smaller parties perform, potentially splitting that vote in several directions. The Liberal Democrats have a strong presence elsewhere in the West Country too, so they'll want to build on that in both of these areas. Polling day is May the 7th, and whilst we don't have many seats up for grabs here, there are thousands across the country, and every party leader is feeling the pressure.
Alicia Fitzgerald for us there. And of course, we'll have all the results when we get them. Now, nearly 25,000 oysters have been relaid. Apparently that's the verb. In the River Fal as part of a project to enhance the stock for the future and improve marine habitats.
Yes, the oyster fishery in the Fal is the last commercial fishery in Europe to only use sail and oar, and the team are working to preserve this historic fishery. Our reporter Grace Pascoe joined the team at Milo Harbour.
18 oyster fishers from the River Fal have joined a project led by Cornwall Inshore Fisheries and Conservation Authority aimed at boosting the oyster beds here.
It's a fisheries idea that's rather a good idea, which puts the oysters back on the fishery. Middle of June, hopefully, they'll all spawn and the harbour will be full of oysters.
There are other regeneration projects around the country which we have sold to, and it seems like it's a bit silly, really, because that's our stock that we're sending off elsewhere, and this has just all come together with the increase in the ring size. I think it's very positive. Plus, they are putting them where they know the fishery needs them as well.
I think that's, along with myself and obviously the rest of the oyster fishermen, are quite keen to keep it going. It makes more sense to do this rather than sell them away to enhance other areas. So this is a sort of win-win, a win for the fishery and a win for the fishermen.
After buying and counting 24,861 live native oysters weighing 1.8 tonnes, it's time to head out into the river and relay them back on the seabed, with some help from a group of marine biology students from the University of Exeter.
It's actually so important. I actually did my dissertation on oysters, so I know how important it is. They're really important for the benthic habitat and they support other species as well. So redistributing them makes the whole space more healthy, it makes the seabed more healthy, and it's really important to get involved.
I absolutely love it. Practical work is definitely my favourite thing, and I think studying marine biology is so special to be able to get out here in the field and be able to see what organisations like IFCA are doing, and it's really inspirational.
Cornwall IFCA manage the oyster fishery here in the River Fal. As part of that management, they're tasked with enhancing the fishery, and that's where this project comes in.
So what we're trying to do is increase density slightly in certain areas to improve the larval production and therefore turn into spat, and therefore we have a much more productive fishery. Well, this is the last wild capture native oyster fishery in England now. It's the last fishery, I think, in Europe that's exploited by oar and sail only. So it's very, very low impact. We're looking at maintaining the future of the fishery, trying to make it better over time.
The project's partly funded by reinvesting the licence fee oyster fishers pay IFCA to dredge here.
What we're doing is we're actually looking at maintaining coastal communities in terms of being able to make them economically viable in going into the future. So, yeah, public money is going into it, but we feel it's a good use because it's going back to the people that are putting it towards us.
This project is about improving the stocks of native oysters here, to boost the marine habitat and to help secure the future of this unique Cornish fishery. Grace Pascoe, ITV News, the River Fal.
Amazing. Now, a community project in Weymouth is uncovering some of the town's history. 150 local volunteers, led by a team of archaeologists, have been excavating the site, which until a few years ago was a bowling alley and more recently a car park.
Yeah, those car parks, or what lies beneath, is revealing its secrets, as Louisa Britton's been finding out.
For 8 weeks, this car park in Weymouth's St Nicholas Street has been stripped, uncovering what has remained hidden for centuries. Below the surface lie forgotten artefacts and structures, some dating back to when this stretch of land wasn't yet called Weymouth, but went by the name of Melcombe Regis.
We know the town was first founded by Edward I in 1280, and at the frontage we think we have some of the very first buildings that were established at the start of the town way back at that sort of period. We have that sort of continuity right the way back from the foundation of the town of Melcombe Regis in the 13th century right up to almost the present day.
We're finding out about what they're eating, what they're drinking. We're finding bottles, milk bottles, beer bottles, wine bottles. But this is the normal folk of Melcombe Regis.
That's it, isn't it? It's not sort of amazing gold finds or anything like that. It is very much what people are doing day to day, but that's part of what makes it so interesting as well.
I think so, and also we're getting quite a lot of imported pottery and some foreign coins and things that actually show the trade contacts with the wider world that you wouldn't get on a medieval rural site. You know, this is really, you know, it's a special thing for Weymouth.
The dig, unusual for its size and location, is led by a team of archaeologists. But the majority of those excavating the site are volunteers of all ages and experience levels.
Weymouth has such a breadth of history right back for thousands of years, and particularly on this site we've got layers of it. On other archaeological sites you're maybe dealing with just one period, but here we've got hundreds and hundreds of years. The further down we go, the further back we go, and it's just absolutely fantastic.
These are just ordinary people like you and I that lived hundreds of years ago, and we're finding some traces of that and bringing them sort of back to life a little bit.
I suppose also it's that impetus to just keep digging. There might be something just a little bit further down, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
There's more than 7 centuries of history here. Over there you've got what would have been some medieval cottages and their foundations, and here what would have been their gardens. But there's layer upon layer of history because these are Victorian coal stores. There's still lots to find with weeks still to go at this dig. The appeal for many of the volunteers here isn't just the chance to explore the town's history, but a sense of community which has been fostered by the dig.
I'm learning a lot about the history of Weymouth from other volunteers. I'm enjoying the camaraderie amongst the team of people, actually. It's really, really nice.
The digs in Weymouth are such fantastic community digs. It's just so welcoming to turn up and to know everybody. Also, you know, I moved to Dorset in about 2015 and didn't really know anybody. So coming and doing the dig, I've now made this sort of community of friends.
With local interest so high, the dig team will be hosting an open day on the 9th of May to share their finds, with the hope of more discoveries over the coming weeks. Louisa Britton, ITV News, Weymouth.
Oh, I'd be beside myself if I was an archaeologist. You can see an extended version though and get in with it. Louisa's report is over on ITVX. Time now for the weather, but before we get the forecast, Charlie's at Barrington Court near Ilminster in Somerset. Look at that.
I know, it looks amazing. Hysteria about wisteria, I hear, and there you got some as well. Hey!
Yeah, that's right. It's all about the next round of gorgeous spring flowers. But yeah, particular attention to this stuff, of course, out in force right now, the wisteria. But it's not actually this variety that people have been flocking here to see. And earlier, I caught up with the head gardener, Sarah, to just find out what it is about wisteria that makes it so attractive.
Well, you've just got to look at it really, haven't you? And we're stood here and the scent is amazing. The bees are quite noisy as well. They're also all over it. Our visitors, every single one of them that's come into this garden, they've just all stared at it for ages, then whipped out their cameras and all taken photos in front of it. It's one of those plants that just gets your little heart racing.
It is lovely. It's sort of vividly three-dimensional as well, I guess, which is in the way it hangs down. But most people will be familiar with a kind of lilac or blue variety. So what's special about this white one?
Yeah, we've got a couple of the blue ones here, and I think they're probably more generally widely available. This white one is called Shiro Noda. It's a Japanese one, and I think the most sort of interesting thing about it is the length of the racemes of the flowers. What would you say, 60 centimetres, 2 feet, something like that. And it is more unusual, and I think it just stops people in their tracks. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, same here. Well, not what I was expecting at all when I came here. Notoriously, or, well, in many people's eyes, difficult to look after, but not necessarily so?
No, I don't think so. I think with a lot of horticulture, we just need to bust all those myths. Things are a lot easier to look after than you might think, and just give it a go. For wisteria, they don't like their roots to be sat in wet too much, so you need fairly free draining soil. If you're on heavy clay, you know, it might not work so well. This one is facing south, so it's in full sun, but it will grow in part shade as well. You just might not get as many flowers in part shade. Okay. And then when it comes to pruning, we do it twice a year. Once after flowering, sort of July, August, and you just cut the long whippy bits back to about 5 or 6 leaves. And then again in January, February, you take it back to sort of 2 or 3 leaves or buds it'll be in there because the leaves will all have gone. Also provides really good autumn colour as well.
Lovely stuff. And if people haven't got a garden and they want to pot grow it, is that possible?
It is possible. You want a very big pot though. Put lots of drainage in the bottom of it. As I say earlier, it doesn't like its roots sat in the wet. It will need a lot of water in the summer, but it's entirely possible to grow it in a pot and have something to have it climbing up into. Or you can make it into a standard, like a tree. That's also possible to do. So, very versatile plant.
Plenty of good tips there. Sarah also said if you want to have a go at it yourself, buy one now that's already in flower so you know that it's happy and it will probably give up the goods for many more years to come. Let's take a look now at the forecast.
Midday Mayan temples, followed by sunny afternoons on the sand. TUI sponsors ITV West Country weather.
Now, some relatively calm or flat weather as we work our way through the coming few days. Pretty typical, really, for the time of year. We have seen a few showers today across parts of West Devon and Cornwall. There's also been a little bit of sunshine, but it has felt a little bit chilly. That's probably going to hang on into tomorrow as well. The Atlantic shows the big picture and not much going on, really, which is why it feels so still and calm. Barely a breath of wind around, but some cool air pooled across the UK. But later in the week, fronts get a bit closer. We see a bit more shower activity, so turning a little less settled, I think, by the time we get through to probably Friday and Saturday. As for the rest of this evening, the showers that we have had will tend to melt away, and it looks like it'll end up being a pretty dry night, really, with quite a bit of cloud around. Still got pretty light winds, but temperatures won't really be allowed to drop all that far. So much like last night, I suspect we'll be down to mid-single figures as we work our way towards dawn. Maybe there are a few further showers already making inroads again back across parts of Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly by then. So for most of us on Thursday, it's a pretty fine day. Again, a bit of a cloudy start. It's that west part of Cornwall, the Scillies, that are in the firing line for a few further showers, mainly during the morning. Otherwise, fine, dry, increasing amounts of sunshine, hopefully, as we head through the afternoon as well. A bit more of a southeasterly breeze, so temperatures that little bit higher at 15 to 16 Celsius. High tide as we head through the course of tomorrow, generally late morning, 9, 10 o'clock, something like that. And then again, as we head through the latter part of the evening. As for the outlook, running into the weekend and beyond, just a few more showers, I think, as we work our way towards Saturday and Sunday. So, yeah, a little less settled, but note the temperature's picking up a little bit as well. Probably above average, at least into the mid to high teens in the next couple of days.
TUI sponsors ITV West Country weather.
What a beautiful place. Charlie, thank you so much.
Yeah, and that Shironoda white wisteria, I've looked it up already. It's gorgeous.
Amazing.
Right, that's it from the two of us. I'm going to be back at 10:30.
After the break, the ITV News continues. Goodbye.
Bye.